You're on.
Hi, today is April 24th. Jardena, isn't it April 24th?
April 25th, we just talked about this.
I'm sorry, I'm a day off here.
We rehearsed.
Today is May 2014. No,
I can edit.
April 25th, 2010. Jardena and I are here recording Daddy's family history and personal history. Take it away, Jar.
Hi.
So we're going to be asking our dad Herman some questions and seeing what he has to say.
Okay. How do I pause it? Okay, so I'm going to start by talking about the family history. And so we have a few questions here. We're going to start with your father, and then we'll talk about your mother. And then I thought at the end we would talk about you.
That's fine.
So, let's see. So the first thing is about your father, Samuel London. So where did he come from? Where did he grow
We're
up?
in New York City, I believe. What did I do with just starting?
I think you're talking like not you, and so am I. So we'll be normal towards the end. And so, all right. So, and his parents, Morris and Teresa.
Yes.
No, so were they born here, or did they come from somewhere else?
Germany.
Both?
That's what I understand. Don't ask me where, because I never found out where. Although when I did some research to try to find out where the London family came from, most of them seem to have come from Leipzig, Germany. But nobody had changed their name. I looked it up all the way back to the 1600s. That was about the time a lot of Londons came out of there. They're not Londons, British Londons. They were German.
Was it Loudon?
London.
L-O-N?
L-A-M-D-E-N, I believe.
Which means learned one, right? Is
That's what it means, learned one. Oh.
I brag about that.
What?
I brag about that my last name is learned one.
I think it's funny that all Jewish first and last names are about knowledge and intelligence.
Yes.
Oh, it's not who you know, it's what you know.
Pardon me, I had to take something out of my mouth.
I'll edit that out. Okay, so they were from Germany, and they came here when? Do you know? I mean, generally, when they were kids, when they were adults? Did they escape oppression?
Well, I don't know. All the kids were born in the United States, so, you know, must be 18-somethings. In the time when a lot of people came to the United States, you know, the big invasion of a lot of people from Europe. Although my grandfather wanted to go back to Germany between the two world wars. They had a business here, but he thought it was better to go back there. Lucky he didn't go back to Germany. But he died anyway. My grandfather died in America in about 1931 or 29 or something like that, whenever. He wanted to go back to Germany.
Why did he want to go back?
I don't know. They had a business that didn't work, and he wanted to go back. He thought it was better.
What was their business?
They had a laundry company. Now, there were no such thing as, you know, places where you brought your stuff into a washing machine kind of a thing. People would come to your door and say, you know, I collect the laundry, and then you come back maybe the next week, and they'd have all your sheets and your baby, you know, all kinds of stuff with the laundry.
So that's what he had
London, I think it was called Lincoln Laundry. I don't have any documents on it, but it was called Lincoln Laundry.
Okay, interesting.
But they didn't have any of that by the time I was born.
So you knew both grandparents? You knew both of your father's parents?
I didn't know. I was 1 year old. They say that I knew him and played with him, but I didn't know.
So they died when you were little?
Yeah, I never remember.
Oh,
You
yeah.
didn't have a little tiny bit of any memory of them at all?
I have pictures of him. But
They both died at the same time?
no. My grandmother died when I was in the Army.
Wait, your father's mother?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you knew her, but you didn't know him?
Oh, I knew her very well.
Oh, okay. What did you call her?
Grandma.
Okay, all right. Not Linda? Linda. So now your grandparents probably not. Did they go to college? Probably not.
No, but they were both pretty educated people.
Did they meet here or they met there and came
No,
over
I
together?
think over.
And they
They
came.
didn't meet here. No, they met over
They
back
came
in the
over
old
together.
country. Yeah.
In the old country. Did your grandmother tell you stories about what it was like there?
Only once she remembered. She was telling me a story where they had to move when she was a little girl, and they had to move from one place to another place. And I guess she was like kindergarten. She was recalling that, but she didn't tell me the names of the places, and even then it was kind of upsetting having to move and staying in Europe. But
Why did they have to move?
Jews are always moving in Europe, but there's always kinds of
That's why they moved, because they were being
problems.
chased out?
You know.
Did she tell you any more?
The only thing is they were what you would call, I don't know what the term, upper class Germans or the Jews. I don't know if you know all the divisions, the people who came from Europe, but my father's parents were the smart, elite, kind of classy people.
Intelligentsia?
Yeah. And my mother's family was not was from Romania. They were and I didn't know until just a few years ago that you're not supposed to marry somebody from the other. No laws, nothing religion, but you don't go.
Oh.
So my
Oh, between your father and your mother?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess my mother thought she was going to get into a higher level family, but there's a lot of I didn't know about disputes between them, but not just them. They thought she was from, the Lower East Side of New York, with the people who were not very educated.
Oh, where was your father's family? Where in New York did they live? Where in New York did your father's family live?
Well, they lived. They lived in Harlem when it was really nice to be up. That was a classy area, and then they moved up to I think the Bronx and different places, but a part of Harlem was really classy.
Well, you said that as a child you lived on the Upper West Side, right? For a little while? But I thought you were telling me you lived...
We lived in Manhattan for a while, but it was right across from the Bronx.
Oh, okay.
We walked across the bridge all the time.
On the east side or west side? What's across from the Bronx?
I was on the west side of the Bronx, and you looked across to the Upper Manhattan Island. We looked right across there.
Oh, cool. So then, your grandparents had the business of the laundry, right?
Yeah, but then later on, when I always knew my grandmother, she had a little, I don't know, she sold like threads and needles and cloth, and a local kind of a little store that sold kind of stuff, and she kept it way until she was very, very old, because instead of staying at home with her daughters there, she had a little store. That was her way of going to go someplace during the day, even though she wasn't making any money. She was just doing it to have a little store to get.
Oh, so it was a store. It wasn't just at her apartment. It was a real store.
No, it was a real store. Yeah, all kinds of things.
Like sewing stuff, is that?
Yeah, sewing stuff and all kinds of things. And she got to know. She knew how to deal with in a few languages. She dealt with people. Enough. She knew enough Italian to this and enough German for this, and just so she could talk.
And her name was Teresa, right?
Teresa, yeah.
So she could fit in with all these different people. How did she become named Teresa, do you know? That seems like an unusual Jewish person or German person.
That's a common name.
A Jewish name?
Yeah.
Really?
It seems like not a Jewish name.
Like Mother Teresa? That's not Jewish.
Well, I don't know.
Okay, that's interesting. So now they came here. I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
No, I'm just saying. What was her name? It was Grandma.
Oh, so they came here. Was it because they were being oppressed? They
Well,
were,
everybody, there was that time when a lot of people from a lot of countries came here.
oh, like the first
In the
immigration.
1800s. That was a big time when everybody came to
Were they coming here for opportunity to or to escape?
opportunities
Oh.
and so on, things like that.
So now what about, about your father? So then your father grew up in Harlem with his...
Well, no, I don't know where they actually lived when he was little. Somewhere in Manhattan, I don't know.
Okay.
But they had other things.
So then they grew up there, and he has two sisters. Had two sisters.
Yes. Now the thing was, I always thought, I always knew that one of his sisters were his twin. But I didn't know until after they had passed away and other things that they had played a game on both sides of my family. My mother and my father, everyone was playing games. They told everybody that the other girl was his twin to make her younger so she could get married. Very, very confusing, okay? Very confusing, but the one that I thought was the twin my whole life was not. It was the other one who was the twin.
So who...
It was so mixed up that I'd have to go...
You don't know which one
I
was the
don't know
actual twin?
how that actually worked, but
So
I never told you this. This is what you want, stuff that you never...
A London exclusive.
Okay, I'm making sure this... When I stood there...
All I saw was just hair.
When you were being born and I helped your mother give birth to you, and first when I saw you just being born and I looked at you and I said, it looks like my Aunt my Aunt Dorothy.
The evil one?
And the thing is, and I didn't say that because I didn't think she was as good a look as the other one. Even my mother said the other one was
Tilly.
But
You can say that
Tilly,
name,
but Tilly,
they
but
know.
the other, Tilly, I looked at you, but I know that when all babies are born, they just are not, they are not good, they've just come out of this, and you've both turned out to be so nice looking, but when you first came out, you were really,
Well, Mason looked like you when he was born.
and you look just like my Aunt Dora, as they call
I don't
it.
look like her now?
Oh, in a very few days you stopped looking like her.
Oh.
No, you don't look anything like her. Are you kidding?
I didn't meet her. I only knew Aunt Tilly. Actually, a question there. So Aunt Tilly, I remember visiting her.
And she visited us. She visited us.
That I don't remember.
She used to walk in and say, "When are we going to leave?"
I don't remember her visiting. Was she making a joke, or is that she really wanted to leave?
No, that was her. The way she approached things. I know.
I remember visiting her. I don't know if it was an apartment or an old age home.
I remember an old age home, but not being able to go in to see her.
Yeah, we waited in the car a few times.
Yes. That's when she was down in lower Manhattan, middle of Manhattan. Now that I know these things, since I'm an ombudsman, and I know what.
So did she live in Manhattan?
Well, she lived
Before
when they
she
gave
was-
up the apartment, and the other one had died because I think the other one,
Dora.
Dora, I think she was very sick, too sick to come to our wedding, living in a.
Oh.
I didn't even visit her in her whatever she was, or I don't know what
Were
the
they
time.
in the Bronx or were they in Manhattan by that time?
Well, they still had the apartment in Manhattan
Oh, it's in
because
Manhattan.
Tilly was there alone by now, and then she was moving out of that.
When you say the apartment, is it where they grew up?
Near the Yankee Stadium, very, very close to
That's
there.
in the Bronx.
Very close.
That's in the Bronx.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was Manhattan.
No.
So they lived in the Bronx, where they grew up. You say the apartment was it one that?
They moved there when I was born. I didn't
Oh.
know that, but that's it was.
Oh, I see. Okay. So then Tilly, I don't remember her dying. I guess we visited her. I remember visiting her, and then I don't remember when she died.
I don't remember. Nobody even knew that she died. They didn't have anybody at a funeral or anything. I don't know. Nobody knew of her anymore. Of friends and.
Wait, did she died after Grandpa or before? Before Grandpa.
Before.
Oh, and no one knew of her brother?
Well, he knew. We knew. But I'm saying, but not, you know, we didn't have 10, 20, 30, 40 people.
Oh, you went to the funeral.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
not.
you said
it was-
nobody went to the funeral.
Well, it was, you know,
Right, she was old, in other words. So she didn't have a lot of friends.
yeah.
Is that what you mean? Oh.
Yeah, and she had been separated from everybody by then, you know. And, I
What do
mean,
you
you know,
guys-
people died off and moved away,
Oh.
and
Okay. And so,
she was, you know, the old jokes that always not good feeling between my mother and those two aunts, and they were.
Oh.
Well, I don't want to get into that aspect of it, but my mother always said that Matilda Tilly was a good-looking, good, attractive woman, and she was, and I didn't realize that. And she had dark, for some reason or other, she had sort of darker skin. I guess like somebody in Israel would have, you know. But she had and she was the one who always took me to movies and the museums and so on. I always went with Aunt Tilly to go to places, and that people always thought that I was her son when I would go there.
do you have pictures of her when she was younger? I remember her being old with thick
I
glasses. or
don't
thick
have
rim.
them right here. Yes, I got them
You don't have to give them to
in a
me.
box. I want your mother to sort out all these tens of thousands of pictures so you can have
My
them.
mother.
Huh?
My mother.
Your mother.
How old she knows? Not her family.
No, I wanted to take the brown pictures
Oh.
and the so and so. Anyway, I don't want to get off on that aspect of it.
Can
But
you
yes,
tell-
I have pictures of all of these people, and
Okay.
taken on the roof of the 5-story building where they lived
Oh, okay. In the Bronx.
in the Bronx.
So can you tell us a little bit about the Dora Tilly not getting married information, this situation? Or do you not want to?
What I'm saying now, as I understand it, as an adult, and Dora controlled everything there, and she controlled everything.
And in a bad way.
And not in a way that, and that's why my father didn't get married till it was so late, and then Tilly didn't, and she didn't, and
How old was your father when he got married?
not as old as I was, but I got married.
We're getting
But,
to that. We're
I
getting
think
to
it
that.
was, I guess, 30s, you know, something or other, but
How did she stop everyone from getting married?
oh, she, you know, she controlled them. You have a controlling person in a family. They controlled the mother and controlled everything. She controlled. There are people like that.
What was her, did she have an occupation? I mean, because they were single women, so
No,
did
she
they have to
almost
work?
never worked in her whole life except during the war. She was in some kind of an office where we knew it had nothing to do, like, I don't know, a reception. I don't even know what it was. In the war, they begged people who had never worked to please come in, you know, in workplaces. So she worked a little time there, but she never worked in it. She never did anything.
And what about Tilly? Because you said it worked.
Stop frowning. Stop
What?
frowning.
No,
Oh, do you have a
it's
question?
just not centered, so I
Oh,
just, when you
I
moved
moved?
over.
Oh, you can move it.
Okay, I just
Oh,
wanted to make sure.
No,
that
you're
it
allowed
was
to
centered.
be comfortable.
Okay, oh, that's much brighter, that's good.
You said that at work people called Tilly a different name, so that they called her Maddie. So what was her job?
what did I call her?
No, what was her job that they were calling her?
What was her what?
Where was she working that they were calling her Maddie?
She worked in different kinds of offices.
Office work?
She's the first person I knew who would bring me stuff from offices, like, you know, like paper clips and,
Yeah, the kids love that.
you know.
The kids, oh, I'm going to pause it for a second, Mr. Cameron.
When I went to visit my father at work when I was a kid,
Which work was what?
I don't know, it was something related to the clothing industry. He was in an office, and he was a salesman before he got married, and used to go up to Boston and do all kinds of, anyway, when I went to visit him once at work, and I was very little, and I remember so distinctly, I had been to stores with my mother and I saw cash registers, okay? And I went to my father's store, and they sat me at some desk, and there was a typewriter. And before that, they had always said, well, Daddy has to go to work, Daddy has to, you know, make money. So first he different days when he didn't take me. Daddy has to go to work and make money so we can have, you know. So when I sat down at the typewriter, I thought that was a cash register. That he sat down and he made money.
Oh.
And he made money. That's what he did every day. He said that, and then
Put lots of zeros in today, Daddy.
Isn't it? Pardon me?
Put lots of zeros in today, Daddy.
Yeah, but isn't that something the kids don't? They all had keys, right? It was the old cash registers.
That's funny.
But he didn't type or anything like that, you know. Now he was left-handed, you know.
Oh.
My father was left-handed, and in those days everybody had it right-handed, so they forced him to write. And his right handing wasn't bad, but everything that he taught himself, when you know, fixing something, hammering something, doing everything he taught, he used his left hand. But in school he had to use his writing. It was amazingly good. Both of my parents had very good handwriting, which I couldn't read it. No, I couldn't read it because it's funny as a kid, and when before I went to school, I would try to copy it, and I'd go, and I thought that was real writing.
Fred does that here.
You know, but that's it.
So your father, did he go to college?
No, but the interesting thing is he graduated from high school, and boy, in those days, when my mother, because you know, I don't think any of my mother's brothers completed high school. But in any event, when my mother found a guy who had a high school diploma, that was a high class. No, really, you don't, you know, in those days.
Okay.
And he studied Latin in high school and so on.
Where did he go to high school? In the Bronx? Public school?
Somewhere down in Manhattan.
Oh, what public school they went to?
He went in a building that later on became a building in City College. It was something high school. I don't know. I don't know what it was. They never told me anything.
You didn't take a video of them?
We didn't even take a. Okay.
I'm sorry
yes,
to interrupt,
please.
but you said your dad took Latin. Did either parents speak another language, or their parents speak fluently in another language?
Well, they didn't speak another language, but they both understood Jewish. And my father's family didn't speak anything but English, you know, at home. But down in the Lower East Side, where my mother's family was, people spoke Yiddish or Jewish and so on and so forth, although they all spoke English.
Did they speak German?
But who?
Anybody?
I don't know. I never heard a German word in my father's family. They were trying to be high class. I don't know.
Yiddish was high class?
No, not. They didn't speak Yiddish. They never. They
or
were.
Your father's family?
Yeah, the daughters would. I'm sure with Dara, Aunt Dorothy, whatever, you know, everything was high class English, and you're going to be, you know, that's.
Now, why didn't she get married? She just couldn't find a husband?
I don't know. I don't know if they ever. I never even knew that they dated. I guess Tilly must have dated Dorothy ever, you know. And I don't know. My father had some dates, and they messed up everything. That's all. They messed up everything.
Who they?
In that family, you know.
Oh.
Right.
Well, how did your parents finally meet then?
Don't know.
You don't know how your parents met? Oh.
Or maybe a dance or something. I don't know.
Okay.
And I guess my mother said, "Oh boy, somebody from a high-class family from up in Manhattan, and they weren't in the Bronx yet. And oh boy, and you know, he has a high school diploma, and you know, she thought she'd get out of that Lower East Side, so and so, try to be." And then,
Well, that's a good segue into your mother's side. But do you have any more questions about it?
Well, about your parents together after they got together, did you ever experience them like being madly in love with each other when you were younger, or did they just, like, did you see them cutesy?
when I was very, very young, I used to hear them talking in bed, and it was always so. I couldn't understand what they were saying in it, but I always felt it was good that they talked at night. in bed, but not. I don't remember anything much more than that. I thought that was so nice.
Were they in love?
In love?
Yeah, like did you?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how you define that.
Well, did you
I
feel
didn't
like they
know.
were in love? I don't know.
Well,
Did you bring her flowers and Valentine's Day? Was it romantic? Was there ever?
no. Well,
Well, they stayed married for the whole
the
time.
only one time I remember, I guess he had to, in the Depression, he had to. What do? You take something, you get money. I can't remember the word. You go to what kind of a shop when
Oh,
you
like a pawn shop?
pawn shop, and he had to pawn. I don't know if it was her wedding ring or she didn't. I don't think she had a engagement ring, whatever it was. And then when he had managed to, in the terrible Depression, I didn't know how bad thing, and he managed to get enough money, and he got it back, and he gave it to her, and she thanked him. She was crying, and that this was that. I didn't know what was going on, but that's the only time that's a touchy kind of a thing.
Oh, I do have more questions about
He
you.
said-
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, sorry.
But he did, she was not a kid either when she died. When we looked at her in the coffin there, my father said, "Look how young she looks, what a great skin and how nice she looked, and even though she had been blind and sick and all those other things." She says, amazingly. I didn't. Well, you don't want me to get into my mother aspect.
I do, but I have one more question about your father.
Go ahead, ask another.
Sorry, I want to try and let us go naturally, but I don't want to forget that. So your father his occupation was what? I know he had many different
Many
jobs,
occupations.
But what was the sequence of events?
Oh, I don't know. The only thing I know is he worked for this company. I guess it was in sales down, in the early, before we really got into the Great Depression. And then my parents opened up a store in Upper Manhattan, a ladies' hat shop in the Depression, and it worked pretty well. It worked pretty well. And then from then, my father had a crummy little nothing job with his longtime friend, and they sold like automobile paints and things for. They didn't sell them to people. They sold to guys who repaired cars, and all the specials that. And then.
Who's his friend?
Pardon me?
What's his friend's name?
What was his friend's name?
Yeah, I didn't know he had any friends.
Jack Edison. And they were very close, like my friend Sandy and I were close. It seems that Edison really had a lot of money for what, he I don't want to get into that aspect of it. Then during the war, my father worked for the Naval Supply Depot in Bayonne, and he went all the way down from the Bronx there every day.
That's okay.
And I didn't know how he was during the war. And after that, he worked in a place that I said sold moldings and picture frame materials, all the wood type of things, that, and in a nothing job, just packing up stuff and that's about all that's what he did.
What did they do mostly in your childhood? Was it the moldings?
My childhood?
Yeah. Thought they had a
I remember the most was the ladies' hat shop.
Okay, that's what I remember you telling me.
Yeah, the ladies' hat shop and the ladies' millinery. And people wore hats.
Right.
And can you imagine when that fell apart, when I don't know exactly when that fell apart, but anyway,
JFK didn't wear
can you
that?
believe that there were signs in ladies'
Yeah.
millinery store windows that said, "Don't be a Jap, wear a hat"?
A Jewish American princess?
Yeah,
So that's what JFK didn't wear the hat. That's what made everyone stop wearing hats, right? That's what I always heard. The dropping of the hat.
I used to have a lot of real hats, men's, boys' hats. And I don't want to get into that, but anyway, and That's it. We never had a car. We go places by boat, by boatless, and well, bus and train and different places. We did a lot of walking. We work up in the Bronx, up one side of the Bronx, across a bridge, down Manhattan, and back on another side. That many miles, but I didn't think of anything about that.
To go somewhere or just to
Just
go
to
for a
go
walk?
and see all kinds of things.
Oh.
You know, we worked up to Yonkers. We worked up to so and so.
You walked up to Yonkers?
Yeah, we did all
With
kinds.
your parents?
Yeah, we were northern Bronx, and we no big deal.
Well, you grew up in the. I thought you grew up in the South Bronx.
In the
Where did you grow up in the Bronx?
Western Bronx, West Bronx.
What's the neighborhood?
Not quite northern.
Oh, I thought you were in the South Bronx by Yankee Stadium or by Fordham.
Well, in between those two.
Okay.
I could walk down to Yankee Stadium, and I could walk up to Fordham, and
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Fordham is north. Okay.
Okay.
Now you say your father was a salesman. So was he the
I
person?
don't know.
Well, was he, I didn't ask the question yet. Was he the personality of a salesman? Was he a schmoozer, charming guy who was a salesman personality, or was that just a job?
I don't know. He didn't sell it to. Well, he did have a pretty good style in the ladies' hat shop. He did have a good manner.
Right, when
in
you
that.
went in social, like when you went out, did he talk to people at a pancake breakfast?
It's just thinking.
Was he that kind of person?
No, I don't think he was. No, he was not.
A schmoozer?
No. No,
Like
I
mommy's
never.
dad.
Yeah, like mommy's dad,
Oh no,
who was
no,
a
nothing.
person who was charming and talked to everybody.
No. No.
Can I pause it to go to the bathroom? Or you can keep asking questions if you want.